Hands. Show me your hands. Step out of the passenger side. Step out of the passenger side. Walk towards me. Walk towards me. Okay, walk towards me. Put your hands on the hood. Testing, testing. Wow, this is interesting. Okay. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. All right, well.
All right, everybody, I'm back. I had a problem with my system and I had to kind of bail out of it a little bit here. So,
Hello, everybody. What is up? Huge day. You don't have to like zoom in so close. I'm way too old for that. Hello, everybody. Wrinkles. What is up? Huge day. You don't have to like zoom in so close. I'm way too old for that. You don't have to, like, zoom in so close. Mert, can you turn off your whatever it is I'm hearing reverberations? I think it's YouTube. Mert, can you turn off your whatever it is I'm hearing reverberations? No, I think it's YouTube. Mert, can you turn off I'm hearing you. Whatever it is I'm hearing my computer audio. No. This is what I always use. What? No, I don't. I've been using this every single time. You have on YouTube because it's a delay. Turn off YouTube. No, I don't. I've been using this every single time. You have on YouTube. Turn off YouTube. No, I don't. Do whatever you did the last 4 nights. Do whatever you did the last 4 nights. Now it stopped. It stopped. I can hear you fine. Can everybody hear Mert? All right, we're good now. Vape King says we're good. Ready to rock and roll. Huge, huge day. We have the grand finale. All right, hang on. Time out. Can anyone hear Mert? Hang on, let me wait till someone answers. Answer if you can hear Mert or not. Waiting for someone because someone said they couldn't hear you. So hang on. Nope, no Mert. Okay, Mert, we're gonna have to do the same thing we did last night. We're not even gonna fuck around this time. Call me. I keep on calling you, but your phone is on do not disturb from today in the trial, so no one can get in touch with you. So please call me and take your phone off do not disturb. I don't know what men do without women. I just don't. Often wonder. All right, he's gonna call me, and then we're gonna be good, guys. You know, we always have to go through 10 minutes of tech malfunctions before we start the merch show. It's just protocol. You know you're in the right place if it's 9:16 and we're just getting going. You know you're in the right place. And here we are. Hang on. Mert, can you hear me?
We can hear you online.
Can you hear me? Is this Groundhog's Day? Who knows if this is Groundhog's Day? Who saw that movie? I love that movie. Mert, are you there? Mert, you've got to. He hung up. Okay, we're going to make it till probably 7. Let's take a bet. When are we going to get started tonight? I'm going 9:21. It's 9:17 right now. My guess is 9:21. Anybody want to bet when we're actually going to start tonight? I'm going to do a 9:21, and you can't overbid. It's just like Price is Right. You can't overbid. Anyone have a guess? When is this show going to start? 9:30, says Ashley. Nice. You can't overbid, though, or you lose the grand prize. In 2 and 2. I can. 1 minute. Let's see if anyone else can hear you. Can anyone hear Mert? He's singing. Anyone hear Mert? L. Kennedy says 9:27. It's nice. No one can hear you, Mert, so you're going to have to call me. I know, but no one can hear. No, you're not on the phone with me, Mert. All right, it's 9:18. My bet was 9:20. Oh, here we go. My bet was 9:21. I'm going to fucking lose now. Hello? Okay, so can you mute yourself on your computer? Yeah, mute your mic. And now talk to me. And can everyone hear Mert?
Hello.
I think everyone can hear you because they can hear me and you're here with me. Okay.
Yeah, the old commercial.
Yep. It's 9:19. We all lost. We all lost.
All right, well, at least got that straightened out.
Okay. Matt Mert, I'm hearing everyone can hear you. We had the final day of the Neely Petrie Blanchard trial was today. Today was the finale, and it was the best finale that I've ever heard. And Mert was there, and he took notes, and he's going to tell us all about it. Take it away, Mert.
Well, the circuit myself. Well, this morning they started out calling a doctor because they had to prove nearly either insane. Oh, boy, this is going to be confusing because I can hear myself over your phone. Okay, let me try. You sure I can do this?
If you could
All
mute
right,
yourself on your side, that'd be great. Just mute yourself on your side. I'm about to win this frickin' bet because it's 9:20 right now. We're still not started.
Okay, well, what I did is I took the headphone off, so because I'm hearing myself through the headphone. Okay, Jenna was in court again. Prosecutor had the big easel set up. Large chart. Neely came into court. Neely said she's not going to call any witnesses. Hands paper to judge. This was a motion, and about 32 pages on it, and the judge immediately said, we're not putting this in. You waited too long to get evidence into the court. So the motion was denied.
What motion?
It's a motion that Crazy Canadian had published. It's published today, and I can't read it because they blocked the page. They usually do that on these things. So there were 2 motions filed.
So the Crazy Canadian filed another motion for Neely, and the court said denied, right?
Yep.
All right. So
Denied the motion.
and so then you said that Neely said she wasn't going to call any witnesses?
No, she did not call any witnesses.
Wow.
What happened was the state then came in and called the doctor to the stand. And basically, he will know we're all, he started out with his background, and then he got on the explaining neural brain matters, Parkinson's, and all that he's trained in. And he basically went through the reasons that Neely is not insane.
And if you could pause right there. So this was a redirect, really, by the state, and this is their impeachment witness, correct? And this would be the doctor to impeach any testimony that would have been brought up by Neely in her case in chief with regard to temporary insanity. And so the state is allowed to go that one more time just to bring any impeachment witnesses. So I'm assuming that's what this was an impeachment witness. And it's my understanding that this was Dr. Demery. This is the same doctor that had done the competency evaluations on Neely, and just the other night had gone into the court to rebut the incompetency designation or by, who was it, Dr. Krupp. And so Dr. Demery is the psychologist for the state. He has held her competent to stand trial twice now, and now he's going to be testifying for the state, I'm hearing, to rebut any evidence that Neely may have brought out that would tend to show that she could have been temporarily insane at the time of the crime. And and Mert, if you could hold on, when you're listening to Mert, keep in mind, everybody, that the standard for NGRI, remember, not guilty by reason of insanity in Florida, is that 1, you have to prove that the defendant suffered from the psychological disease or defect or infirmity. That's 1 criteria. Then number 2 prong you have to prove is that the defendant either A, didn't know what they were doing at the time, or B, that they did not appreciate the difference between right and wrong. That is the legal standard for not guilty by reason of insanity. And so that's what she would have had to prove. And so I hear that we're now going to have the state's doctor impeaching any possible testimony or evidence that would have tended to show that Neely actually met that criteria at the time of the crime. So with that in mind, take it away, Mert, again.
Okay, this is that defines Florida statute when it comes to the temporary insanity and what it takes to meet the criteria. It has a burden of proof.
I can't look that up. I can't look that up right now. Yeah, I can't look that up right now because I'm online and you've got my phone. So I'm sorry, guys. Someone else is going to have to look that up.
What they did is they had a big, they had about monitors in the courthouse, and they put this up on the monitor. But it basically, and just like you said, it's the Florida standard for how you determine whether or not somebody qualifies for temporary insanity defense.
And did I get it right? Did I say what the statute said?
You said it right.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is.
Off the top of my head. Okay.
And so he went on with that. And I'm going through my note here to try to.
So what did Dr. Demery say on the stand?
Well, what he did is he said she is not insane.
Mert, I can't hear you. Damn. L. Kennedy, I think you're going to win. It's 9:26. It's between you and Ashley now. There we go. You're back.
Okay. Wait, I gotta do this. Okay, anyway, let me get back to what I was doing.
Yeah, what we were going through what Dr. Demery testified on the stand today to disprove the temporary insanity claim.
Yeah. Because the first thing he did is he brought up examples of why Healy was never temporarily insane. She was able to make decisions, act on those decisions. Like she was able to hide the gun, and when she was ready for the gun to pick the coming up, shoot Chris Allen the first time. The gun jammed. She was able to unjam the gun and point it and shoot. It's basically finished off pallet. Then another example was that she was able to call different people, be calm about it, say that she did this, that, and the other thing, wasn't excited or nervous or anything. And he got into QAnon and the sovereign citizen, and he said the police do not indicate insanity of any kind. Sane people can believe in these movements. They'd be nuts, but they can believe in them. Got into that, and
while you're looking at your notes, we have a great...
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes. Go ahead.
Okay, we have a great comment by Murder Groupies. She says, raise your hand if you're not going to prison tonight. Right here. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see what they did up there.
Here's Levi Page. He's in the house. My best friend.
He kept talking about where he got all our medical records and everything, and there was no indication of any mental illness or insanity and all that. Now he said what was caught when she said the thing about hearing noises and not being able to sleep. He said she is on Zoloft, and one of the many side effects of Zoloft is that you can't sleep. It causes sleeplessness.
You mean it wasn't the
Or
Havana
also-
syndrome in real? It wasn't the Havana syndrome,
No,
or one of those
that never
high
came up.
energy
No,
weapons?
Savannah syndrome.
It was only Zoloft. Oh man, it's
He
ruined it
said
for us.
Zoloft causes some neurological problems, but he says that you just don't have noises one time and then they go away. There are mental conditions where if you hear voices or hear noises, it's continuous. You just don't know. The night you decide to kill Chris Hallett, you hear a noise and a voice that says, kill him, and you don't.
That's right. So most mental diseases or defects or infirmities or any type of psychopathy, if you had auditory hallucinations, such as a schizophrenic or so on, then you would have them consistently. They wouldn't just be coincidentally on the night you wanted to shoot Chris Hallett. That's when I heard the voices. Haven't heard them again. I mean, even David Berkowitz did better than that with the dog. That he heard voices from the dog, and that's why he had to shoot everybody.
Yeah, and
She could have done better than that.
No history of treatment for mental illness.
So Dr. Demery just spoiled it all for Neely. He was a buzzkill. He just spoiled the whole thing for her.
Yeah, she had objected a couple times on privacy. He first lived on there or something, and that was denied.
And that would probably be denied because in court, if you're going to put your mental health at issue, then you've opened the door to your psych records. And so there would be no psychotherapist patient privilege like there normally would be, and you would not have a privacy claim to any of your psych records. All right, go ahead.
He got into, she was able to give advice to somebody about jury selection. She had the wherewithal to do that.
And she did a nice job there. She did.
Normal conversation after murder. This is a phone call with Kathy. Justification for the murder.
Yep.
Negativity towards Chris Hallett. Watson on call, no indication of a mental disability. Chris added to sex trafficking and higher CPS, no insanity. Very clear thinking, weighed. Now, he said that he weighed heavily on the text messages because this was showing, her ability to.
Now, what text messages were those? Were any text messages shown in court?
These were text messages that were sent out prior to the murder to her husband, which had to do with the father. And then text messages afterward, one to Knowles and some other people that had to do with what had happened subsequent. Because Knowles was there and there was somebody else. And I'll get into that because that came up later on.
And these are text messages. Knowles wasn't in the courtroom.
Yeah, these were text messages between Neely and Kim.
Okay. And by the way, Dawn Bowers is here. Hi, Dawn. And if anyone wants me to repeat it, Dawn Bowers was Chris Hallett's first wife. I was lucky to get a chance to meet her and her husband when I was in Ocala. And she's been sitting in on the trial every day. She was very close with Chris up until the day he died. And they had an adult son, Matthew, they share together. And Dawn has said, I just lost the comment, that the Zoloft occurred and came in after the homicide, not before.
Okay, well, he brought it up.
Okay.
But yeah, he basically said the Zoloft it might have been a problem because when she did the cross, they went back and forth about Zoloft.
But still, keep in mind that even though she may have had some type of psychopathy. It's some, and some type of mental diagnosis. That doesn't mean that you're legally insane at the time, because you have to meet those other one of the other criteria, which was clearly not there. She knew what she was doing, and she appreciated the difference between right and wrong. She fled.
Because I don't know where I wrote it down, but he said he's narcissistic.
You don't say.
A couple of other terms, but grandiose. He says he does grandiosity and something else.
That's most likely delusions. Yeah, delusions, persecutorial delusions, and delusions of grandiosity. Was he talking about that?
She's got grandiosity and narcissism, and there was a third one, but none of those audio thing.
Okay.
Because he brought up, she was examined by the Loudoun County Sheriff when she was booked. And there was no, let me see, they went through the phone. There's no audio problem. They had about 6 things that they said she didn't have any of that. They have like a flow chart they go through when examining prisoners. She didn't meet any of the criteria. So she was examined in Loudoun County. There's no good without evil. I don't know where that came from, but the body cam footage that I just played in my preview was used in court to show that she had no problems, and knew her rights, was able to give advice, talk to the sheriff about material in her car, so he was able to talk about that without, she didn't have any panic attacks, didn't go into any shock or anything like that. And
do we know whether or not she was using drugs at the time?
If everybody remembers the pictures I put up of the car, there was a jar in there. Those pill jars, that was Zoloft.
Oh.
Because they read it in court. They said this jar, the jar you see.
There was a pill bottle. Yes, there was a pill bottle in the car.
Zoloft in the car.
Oh, okay.
He had it, whether she was taking it or not.
And Don Bauer's comment just said, the doctor stated that a side effect was loss of sleep, hence the reason she didn't sleep the night before. So that does make sense. So if you remember, someone had testified that she had stayed up all night. I think it was Liliana.
Yes,
stayed up all night on the night before she killed Chris Hallett and didn't go to sleep, and then woke up and wanted to go partying with Shannon or something like that. We heard, at least that's what the state said in their opening. Wanted to go down to Key West with Shannon, but she had stayed up all night.
When the prosecution got the specific timeline came about.
Mm-hmm.
And
Shannon, by the way, was in the chat very early on, and I hope she comes back because I'd love to hear her input and her feelings about all this.
You would have heard it in court.
So let's get to the good stuff, Mark.
Anyway, that was, and of course, him went around and around, and so
what was she doing on cross? So how did she do cross-examination to Dr. Demery?
She started out asking him for all his expertise, address, and it got confusing because the prosecution was objecting, sustained. They started that again.
That's the whole trial. Objection, sustained.
The whole trial.
Yeah.
I mean, it got...
Oh, and hang on, Mert. We do have Shannon Tannis in here, and I don't know if that's how you pronounce your last name. That's what I've heard, and I'm glad you're in here. We do have Shannon in here. And Shannon, I'm going to let Mert continue on. If you'd like, you say that her comment is, I have a lot to say. And at least I would love to hear what you have to say. I listened to some of the days of the trial, and I'm sorry I didn't get to listen to you testify, but nor did I hear you today. But I'm sorry what happened to you and what you experienced and what you experienced with your daughter. I could not even imagine. And what you went through is something that you'll probably never get over. And I hope your little girl, who is a beautiful, well-spoken young lady, she seemed very strong. But I hope you guys are doing well and can progress past this.
Now, if you want, Shannon, I can hit I can invite you in as a guest and you can talk on the air if you would like to do that.
We'll wait to see what she has to say. That would be wonderful if she wanted to come.
Yeah,
and
if
let
she
us
doesn't
know.
want to come on the air, I'll just keep.
Yeah, and I'm sure she's had to hold a lot in because, usually the state doesn't want you speaking about, what you intend to testify to. So she's been, it's been like 3 years or more than 3 years.
I don't know
less than
if
3
she
years.
even recognized me or not, but
So
I would go and watch her through the whole trial.
I'm sure she has a lot to say, and, it's time to say it if she wants to.
Okay, there's a link at the bottom there that I'm just going to put up, and you just click it and bring you in.
Excellent.
Go from there.
And so you guys were hoping, I believe that Shannon Tanis is going to be coming on. If anyone is new to this story or is not familiar with the cast of characters, so to speak, Shannon was the live-in girlfriend of Chris Hallett at the time he was murdered. And she was living in Chris Hallett's house with her daughter, Liliana. And at the time that Neely shot Chris Hallett, Shannon and her daughter ran out because they heard the loud noise, and Neely did point the gun at them. The gun had jammed, thank goodness for them. Otherwise, they could have been killed. So they had the gun pointed at them. Clearly, I'm sure that Neely was intending to shoot them too. And they ran and were able to escape the homicidal maniac and went into a bathroom, locked themselves in, and called 911. So thank God they're both alive, and I'm hoping she'll come on to give us some more information or just basically to say what she wants to say. She deserves a platform, and she has a voice, and I'm sure she's been waiting a long time to speak.
Yeah, okay, I'm just seeing. No.
Was that?
I'll try to just start again.
Bring her on. Let's go.
Yeah, Infiltrated is directly responsible for Neely being in jail for the rest of her life.
She is absolutely responsible. Absolutely responsible. If Neely would have had an attorney and had not had the crazy Canadian woman file all of those heinous filings, Neely could have stood a chance. I mean, with a good attorney, Neely could have gotten off the charges by a good NGRI plea or defense. And I think that a good attorney could have given her a shot. But after the crazy Canadian and the fake judge, people want to call themselves judges nowadays, and war correspondents, and pretend that courts said that about them. And instead they give her advice and wrap her up. And here we go. Shannon, I believe, is coming into the show. And I'm so happy about
Shannon,
that.
I'm going to put you on.
Oh, and there's Dawn. Great. Okay, and I'm going to shut up, everybody, for once, because I definitely want to hear these ladies. Welcome to Shannon and to Dawn Bowers.
Hey, you're both on, ladies. You can go ahead, Dawn and Shannon, whichever one wants to go first.
Dawn, can you hear us? Make sure you've unmuted your. Shannon, can
Hi,
you?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Welcome, Dawn. And Shannon, can you hear us?
I'll let Shannon speak. She needs to have her time.
Absolutely. Shannon, are you there?
I can.
I cannot hear her.
Shannon, can you?
Hello.
I can hear you. I hear you, Dawn. I can't hear Shannon. Oh, Shannon, you're on mute. I can see your screen. If you could press the thing that looks like a movie camera. No, I'm sorry. The thing that looks like a microphone. You are on mute. No, her microphone is muted. So if you could unmute yourself, Shannon, that's the only thing that's keeping us from hearing you, I believe. It's on the bottom of your screen, right in the middle. Dawn, can you hear Shannon?
I thought I did for a minute, but I don't hear her now.
Yeah, and I'm looking at her screen, and it does show that it is on mute. So Shannon, if you can hear us, you are on mute. If you could click the little microphone that is in the bottom of your screen towards the left. And Mert, I think you turned on some volume or something because now you're reverberating. Okay, so Dawn, I don't know if anyone.
She has to do it. I can't do it.
Okay, so Shannon, if you can hear us, if you could leave a comment in the chat, let us know if you're having trouble with the unmuting yourself because I do see that you're on mute. And Mert, can you kick that piece of shit right off of? Thank you. That was IBT. IBT is trying to come in. Piece of shit. She's done enough harm to this family, to all these families.
She might want to lawyer up because I had a talk with the state attorney's office.
Interesting.
And I told her she's the one responsible for that thing that was brought in.
They have very strict laws in Canada, a lot more strict than here, especially with regard to defamation and harassment. So, if I cared enough, I would tattle. But I don't. And I'm not seeing anything from Shannon. So, until we can get Shannon back, Dawn, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what your feelings were about today. And again,
I'm sorry, Kim. I didn't catch your question.
Sure. Until we can get Shannon back up and running, and Shannon, if you can hear us and leave a comment, please do. And I guess we need to go ahead and, the spoiler is, and I think everybody understands this, is that the verdict was in, and Neely was found guilty of first-degree murder, and she was sentenced today as well. She was sentenced to life in prison, no parole, and that will be the life in prison will be her natural life. So she is gone. All right. She's going to be serving the rest of her life in jail. She will die in jail, as she should, and she will serve her time and her punishment for the unlawful killing of Christopher Hallett. Dawn was Christopher's first wife. Dawn, if you could, tell us your feelings about today and about the verdict. How do you feel about that? Can you hear me, Dawn?
I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I'm trying try to address both ways. I am extremely happy with the verdict from today. I am glad that this 3.5 year nightmare is over. Um, it took a lot for myself and Shannon to endure this week. I have been there since Tuesday, as you know,
Yes,
and
we met
um,
each other at court.
it's been very enlightening, to say the least.
What's your feeling about Neely right now?
She, I understand the problems that she was having. She was going through her stuff with the courts. Um, I get that. I get it. A lot of people get frustrated with the way things are happening in court system, but there was no reason for her to take away a man that is devoted to his family, his friends, his kids. Um, she, I feel happy that this has been taken care of, but I also feel sorry for her.
And I think we have Shannon. Shannon, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Shannon, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Kim Picasio. I'm a lawyer. I did not have any dealings with this case in a professional capacity. I was just interested in the case because I had
I
had
know.
some,
I'm aware of who you are.
you know who I am, okay? Don't hate me, okay? But I'm sorry for everything you went through, and I hope you heard my comments. Tell us how you're feeling right now about today's verdict.
I was very excited, especially that it took the jury such a short period of time to do that. Um, just reading the jury in the courtroom, the amount of time that I was in there, um, you could tell that they were fed up with her and that they were going to return a very quick verdict.
How
So,
long did it take? Was it about 35 minutes?
Yeah.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So it was that was very liberating to feel, that it came back that quick. So it's just been a lot what I've had to go through. Um, I haven't been able to speak about any of the stuff that's happened through this process. Um, I had to focus as also a person that looks at deficiencies within the aspect of victims and witnesses. So there were things that I endured that shouldn't have happened and that are defined by the Florida Constitution that caused more harm onto the situation. And there are some questionable things that are documented that have gone on. One of them is the release of my daughter's name when she was a minor on the tangible evidence. And I was told that it was not the state attorney's office. And I started believing that it was Neely's former attorney that had did it. But then I had went back to the evidence that I had captured, that I had filed the complaint with the Attorney General of the state of Florida, and realized that it was the state attorney's office that did not do their job. I had brought up these matters to the detective and to the state attorney's office in real time. It must have gotten back to the Florida Supreme Court because they motion procure themselves on this very rule of redaction. And they clarified that this is the obligation of the parties in a criminal case to make sure this type of information that is sensitive to be done. So there are things that I will be taking up and dealing with in those regards, because things should not, when we have rules that we're supposed to abide by, they should be adhered to because they cause further harm. The fact of there were more people involved in this matter that created this situation is a high concern, to the point that there is an individual by the name of Jamie Lynn Grubbs that was portraying herself in impersonating a marshal. I had to alert the Florida marshals to secure evidence in real time about this, and they recorded her impersonating a marshal. The state attorney's office was not concerned about any other individual or any other charge against Neely regarding any of her other actions, and only wanted to focus on the fact of the murder. I am highly concerned about the waste and abuse of time and accountability for others that contributed to this situation. The defamation that has been caused upon Christopher Hallett and the use of sovereign citizen and QAnon to attach to him, I alerted to the authorities immediately that it is a defamation. It should not have been used. The merits of the case and these evidence was clear and convincing without the political narrative. Christopher Hallett was not exercising any capacity of language of sovereignty or sovereign or any of those things until I came into the picture and certain events happened. When I came down in August of 2020, I came by rain. Christopher was supposed to come and pick me up. He was escorted by the county, the sheriffs there, back to his home and told he could not come and get me. They did not state a reason why. He continued from that time on until his death, inquiring why this had happened to him, because he had a valid driver's license, valid insurance, and a valid registered plate. I prayed upon God to give me an answer because of the fact that I had seen Chris so worked up over the fact he could not understand why his rights were violated. All I heard God tell me was BOGO, BOGO. And then it clicked. When Neely took her kids in March, she had E-Class plates on her vehicle. In my experience with the court regarding warrants and lien systems and databases that contain BOGOs and that type of process, they are not adequately monitored, and those things are not taken out in real time. And this created a harm and injury upon Chris. And the fact that the sheriff's office did not divulge this information to him, he said, screw it. I am going to start exercising what Shannon does. Because I was driving around with a private plate, and there were tons of sheriff's office and police officers that were behind me multiple times. He was so scared that he would not drive. I had to drive all the time when I was down there because of this affected him. These things should not happen and harm the people when they are participating in the system validly. These are the things that cause the people to get incited, that our system is corrupt and it is maladministrated and has overreached into the people's lives to cause such harm and debt to this system. That is what we are trying to fix. We are trying to fix what is deficient by the rules that are already established that should be done by the people that say they have the authority to administrate this. We constantly find the patterns and practices of those that are supposed to oversight their own departments and government bodies violating those oversights and not holding themselves accountable, and are not changing them. The direction of where we were going with e-clause, I was about to show Christopher that we had to sue the legislator at the same time with the deficiencies to fix that these rights were being violated. We were not going to continue with individual cases. Neely was upset over the fact of Chris choosing me and my daughter as a priority, and that the direction of e-clause was going to change, and that she was not going to be the center of attention anymore in the capacity that Chris had been giving her. Kirk also was upset in this same capacity. These people, after the murder, got together like Scooby-Doo detectives and tried to concoct and say that I shot Christopher. These things should never be allowed to happen to intimidate, duress, or harass a witness or victim in any capacity. The fact that it's been allowed to happen tells other people that they can do the same thing in other situations, and it allows the narrative to continue in every single case. It'll set the standard that this type of internet involvement and infiltration on cases is allowed. What Timothy has done and these band of idiots out here is not fair reporting. I am a journalist and I have standing. What they are doing is defaming and degrading our system, and we should not allow it to happen. So I will be taking action to address these matters so there can be a standard moving forward to protect witnesses and victims. We already have standards in place that are supposed to protect them, but the selectivism of our government bodies that are in charge of prosecuting cases is what is the matter. I see this time and time in my oversight, and it's not just with this situation. I oversight FOIA, I oversight probate matters, all kinds of things. And this is the same pattern that I see constantly. That standard that is there, the baseline, is always selective if they choose. They don't do it when it's absolutely necessary in every instance. They're allowed to take and choose. And that is not what our system is about. There is not supposed to be a higher class of people that are allowed to get away with certain things, and other people are set to be paupers and not have fruitfulness in their life, and that they're considered allowed to be harmed for one reason or another. The political narratives to create deprivation against people as a whole in any capacity should not be allowed. I just can't believe the amount of harm I've gone through. And it's not just about these group of people in this situation. Even in my own hometown, dealing with the homeless system, dealing with foreclosure fraud. There are standards that are already in place legislatively and by the Supreme Court of individual states, and they're not upholding, changing that. They're practicing unconstitutional things. If you go to look to the record, I filed a judicial audit against the Florida Judicial Qualifications Commission. They were not in good standing. And then if you start looking down the line of all the United States and looking and comparing at what they're supposed to by their own state constitution, you will see that it is a gross deficiency across the board. They don't have enough non-bar members on the qualifications disciplinary commission. These things are self-evident. These are the things that we were going to show and move forward with, and how to make change with the checks and balances that are there with the judiciary.
Oh, Shannon.
I am so sorry to Dawn. I am so sorry to anyone that followed Chris and loved him. I wish I did something before this happened. There were warning signs. But in
Like
the
what?
climate that we are in now, I did not know where to go with this information. I went to Chris, and it was like it was too late. 3 weeks before Chris's murder, that's when we had started really talking about revetting everyone and the direction of E-Clause going completely opposite. Kirk was not going to be a part of it. That's the reason why Chris had not done the show with Kirk. They had a falling out because Kirk found out that I was with Chris and I was down in Florida. He was making comments. I witnessed this because Chris allowed me to view and be a part of the show in a private capacity where Kirk did not know this. There is one person that I was communicating about things to, and that was Jamie Lynn Grubbs. She was communicating with Ashley Cooper and Randy Davis. She was leaking out screenshots of her phone during the beginning of the investigation. So there are a lot of people that are tied to this whole situation that fed into this. And I'm just very disappointed in everyone that the level of harm that they felt that they could cause onto someone before Chris's murder and after. I think this is a great time to reflect on our actions and how they cause harm on others. I want everyone to be able to better themselves and move on from this, but also continue to remember Chris's legacy and what he was standing for. And that was the deficiency of child support. His receipt, when he paid $1,200 for child support and they only gave $300 to his children, he had an issue with that. And I do too, which I brought up to my state child support over 20 years ago, that the balance of the formula was not accurate and did not benefit the kids, and it benefited the state. And he absolutely had a right to go after that and say, wait a minute. Christopher was taking care of his children in the private. He was paying support. I would not be with someone that did not support their children. Christopher was so traumatized by what happened with his children. That's the reason why, Kim, he had the car's bath mat in the guest bathroom still.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. He had not been with anybody for like 12 years because of his divorce and the impact of it. He did not know what was coming at him when she served him papers. It was a total shock. And his children were ripped out of his life. Christopher was a wonderful father figure. My daughter, the day before this happened, stated to Chris on her own volition and called him dad out of the blue. And that is one of the things I think irritated Neely, is because she's seeing the positivity and love that we had and what was going to happen, and she feared she was not going to be a part of that. And she decided to say, screw it. There are so many profound things that happen. I wish I could have done something more to prevent this. I told Chris I was not comfortable with her in the house when she left to go to Publix. We should have locked the door. You're absolutely right.
Shannon, this was not
But
your
you
fault.
never prepare, or you never think that someone is going to do this in this type of situation. I am very upset at the state of Kentucky. Hearing the testimony of Neely's mom and sister, and that they did not hold her more accountable in a high risk, and they allowed her to cross state lines without higher supervision, is just negligent. So you can't sit here and say Christopher's work wasn't doing something, or the state of Kentucky was completely negligent on their assessment of Neely and how to handle her. These things are what need to be looked at. I wish things weren't the way they are. I wish we had Chris, but I can't. I refuse to allow myself to be frozen. I had figured I was going to be alone for the rest of my life. I recently have met somebody that I'm going to marry and have a beautiful life with. And I'm very grateful to God that He's been so understanding and supportive. And I want him to know how special he is to me. I want Dawn and Matt and the rest of their family to be able to move on. I'm going to help them in any capacity to address these issues in violation of rights that happened to Christopher. This is not about a sovereign citizen. This is not about QAnon. This is not about any of that. We as a people need to reflect on ourselves and do the right thing. We can't sit here and preach one thing and have rules and not follow by the same standards. I just want to be able to have a happy life and not have to worry about further defamation. I want those who really contributed to this situation and caused harm to admit their responsibility and what they did to contribute to this. That would be the only gratification of me not further holding them accountable, is their own free admission to the degree of what they contribute to this matter. If they continue to hide and cause defamation, I will hold them to the highest accountability that law will. And I will encourage the courts to do the same. I will be writing the judge about all these matters. There are so many other issues. I do not want to speak about them publicly. But they will get addressed. And I just wish things could be different. I wish Chris could be here to see what's going to happen and where his place was supposed to be and how happy his life could have been. I hope he's able to look down on us and be at peace. That's at least
I'm not sure when that.
Shannon, are you still there? Maybe she'll be coming back. She might have had a spotty signal.
Yeah, probably dropped off.
Wow,
I should have.
that was incredibly moving. I'm so happy that we got to hear from Shannon. I had a lot of things to unpack there. Dawn, what's your thoughts after hearing Shannon?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't hear myself talking, so I can't hear myself talk. I can't hear what you guys are saying back to me right this minute because I had to mute my speaker so that it wouldn't give me all the feedback. I'm getting a headache from the feedback. Shannon and Chris had a relationship that nobody is going to understand unless they were there or knew them personally. And I I feel very, how do I say, bad, and my empathy and my whole body is just, it feels for Shannon and her daughter. Um, there was no reason for any of this to happen to them, and I hope that she can heal now that this has been concluded. And I wish them all the best. A lot of people were having some issues with something that I had said earlier about I feel sorry for Neely. I do not feel sorry for her in a major capacity. I do feel sorry for her in a slight capacity of saying she has to live with and deal with the premeditated decision to remove a man's life. I don't care if he was a troublemaker. I don't care if he was a perfect man. It does not matter what he was doing. There was no sense and no standing to put a gun to his head, literally. And as I said before, I am going to continue to heal and I will work on what I need to. However, I am going to address some of this sovereign citizen stuff if you do not mind. Chris did, and I honestly don't want to argue and fight over what you guys have heard or know or don't know. Um, I know for a fact, and it is in paperwork, and I have everything that came out of his house. My son and myself removed thousands and thousands and thousands of legal work and computers and etc. from the home when we came down here right after this all happened. The paperwork that I have and the stuff that I have seen, which a couple of things I have with me, however, I don't have a scanner or anything to show you, whatever. But Chris did pay his child support. I understand that it was in the Ohio whatever that stated that he did not, and that he had lost his license, and et cetera, et cetera. He may have done that late, but he did do it. You do not know the extent of the divorce and the fighting and the back and forth between him and Christina that ruined him and the way things were done in the state of Ohio. I I watched him for 3 years fight and carry on and try to understand why his ex-wife removed his children from him after he was given custody and never gave them back. I tried to understand why he had to go through this craziness when I am not that person. And so there are a lot of other circumstances behind his child support and things that were going on between him and his ex-wife, Christina, which is the mother of the 2 youngest children, which a couple of you have spoke about. Murder groupies being one of them. I'm not going to sit here and argue and fight Terry Bone about it. He did not pay child support at certain points in time in his life because he did not have the job to do so. Yes, that is correct. He did file paperwork to try and get the child support reduced and corrected at those specific times, and the courts denied him. Hence the reason for the constant fighting back and forth with the courts of the state of Ohio. Sovereign citizenship was never on his lips. I don't care what people say. I don't care what you all think. Chris was not never, and at least to me, claimed the sovereign citizenship ever. He never claimed to be a lawyer. He never said any of that stuff to me. I don't want to continue to argue over that specific situation. Um, I focusing back on Chris, this entire ordeal did not have to happen. There are other ways to turn things in that you are not comfortable with, such as um, malcontent or whatever. You can go to a U.S. Marshal, you can go to a lawyer or a police officer or whatever, but there was no sense in pulling a gun on him and putting him down in cold blood. And that is the focus of today. Neely is in jail. We did win what we have been fighting for 3.5 years. We don't have to worry about her coming out. We don't have to worry about her trying to get parole. She is not allowed to have it. It has been put in the paper and record that she is not eligible for parole at any given time. She has to pay restitution, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, yes, it did come out in court that Neely started thinking about killing Chris 6 months before she killed him, hence the premeditated murder. Um, he doesn't deserve to be a honey bear, and I agree. And it's not sovereign citizenship aside. He was a good man. You may have not known him as a um, good man because none of you have ever come face to face with him. But in my life, I have known him since I was 13 years old. He was He was a knight in shining armor when I was younger. He was my best friend. And now he is gone because somebody decided that he was a problem. And I'm not okay with that. And I'm glad. I'm glad that Haley is no longer a problem for us. And I'm sorry. Just give me a couple minutes.
It's all right, Don.
You can bring on questions if you want to, but give me a minute to turn my speakers on so I can hear you.
And Dawn, if at any time you want to cut off your camera a minute and just, feel free to do that. You can, where the buttons are right down there, or mute yourself. You got to remember to care for yourself through this, because although you were there to hear about Chris, it was a hard week for you.
I'll put her up to one side for a minute.
And I think that she's right. I mean, we've all most of the people that are in this chat had an opinion of Chris because he had got involved in some internet with some internet people that we're all familiar with. So you were either on this side or that side of the E-Clause group. You were either, for them or kind of against them. At least a lot of the internet community, there's this circle of people. And sometimes they would get intertwined and have disputes. But to you, Dawn, this was, your best friend and your former husband and someone you knew since you were 13. And he was also the father of your child. And it sounds like you had a lot of respect for him. And I don't think anyone needs to, at this time, be thinking about what they think of a label on Chris Hallett, whether it be a sovereign or anything else. He was a man and he was a father. He was your ex-husband. He was your buddy. And so that's what you need to keep in your mind. And I think the focus should be not on anything that Chris had done in his life. We don't need to explain anything for Chris now. He's the victim. And so are you. And so is Shannon. So is your son. So I don't think you need to explain anything about what Chris had ever done. And I really liked the way that you referred to him, and I'm sure you miss him so much. I'm sure you miss talking to him, and I'm sure his son misses him too. So tonight, we just need to keep in mind that Chris was a man who should be alive right now. And he was a father and a friend, and I'm sure he was somebody's brother. So we just need to think of Chris and all the positive things that he tried to do for people, regardless of whether you agree with how he tried to help people or not. That was the point, is for him to try to help people that had gone through things that he had gone through. So with that said, that's admirable. And Neely took his life away.
I really want the people to understand that just the constant labeling of what he was or what he wasn't, or the constant continued beating him down. If you could please, it's been going on for 3.5 years. We've been watching it on the sidelines. We've never said anything. We've never really spoke about it. But let people know that the labels are not needed anymore, and that he is away from all of this craziness and madness, and he can watch from above and make sure everybody is happy and safe, and he can enjoy and be proud of himself that he can watch everybody now instead of just one or two, and not he's not, he don't have to deal with just one or two people at a time. He can watch all of them. And the labeling does need to stop. I know it's going to take time. People need to just forget about whatever. Um, to the people that are in the chat, if you are still involved with E-Clause, my son and I have been discussing on how we are going to handle E-Clause. We are going to, at some point in time, my son is going to take all of the files and information that Chris had pulled over the years, put it all into one spot, and you can have access to it in that manner. E-Clause is still up at the moment. There is no extra posting or anything along that lines anymore. We are not accepting new people, and we're not accepting new information. We are just simply allowing the information that is on that specific website, through Facebook and with YouTube for that matter, you guys can still have access to the information that he was working on and trying to do. It was a passion of his that he wanted. And by the way, the reason why I am so fond of the E-Clause, I told him and that he needed to start E-Clause. I am one of the reasons that he started E-Clause LLC. I am the private, quiet partner that he talked about to everybody that I just I told him years ago, you need to teach. And his platform and his solution to that was eClause LLC. And again, he never ever claimed to be a lawyer. He has said it time and time again. He is not a lawyer. He wanted to change laws that were already there within the law. So he wasn't trying to make brand new laws and change this and change that completely from what we have known. He wanted to change what was in the law itself and just give people a chance to reunite with their children or do what they needed to do. And that was his way of doing that. And again, I'm going to leave up the information. You guys can grab it anytime you want. At this point, uh, just know now that this is over and that that we have got our verdict and we can go on for healing. My son is going to take time sometime throughout the year to do the files and everything in one spot. At this point in time, he's got a lot of things on his plate right now, and this is going to just be one less thing he has to deal with. And so, yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
go off of live. I will stay in the chat for a little while. Um, but if anybody wants to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me through eClause. I mean, you can send me a private message. I am the admin for that, so it's not hard to send me a private message. And I will try to get, with whoever would like to talk about it. I think that's about all I needed to say or wanted to say about any of this. Um, I appreciate y'all for covering you, Kim and Mert. You guys are awesome. You guys did cover everything to the T as best you could. I know that I threw my 2 cents in there every once in a while, but I want the truth to be told. I don't want people to make things up. I don't want people to say, "Oh, he did da 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 da," when he did not do da 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 da. I want things to be correct and true, and that's just the way it needs to be. And the labeling, it really needs to stop.
I agree. I agree, Don. Thank you so, so much for talking to everybody and letting us learn a little bit more about Chris and a side of him that I don't think a lot of us knew. And I think everyone feels for you. And again, if anybody needs to get in touch with Dawn, she still has eClause open, and you could private message her there. So it looks like she's gone ahead and timed out, and we thank you, Dawn, very much, very much. Um,
I think what I'm going to do at this point, is to log off. I'll do the presentation at a different time.
might be a
Because
great idea. Okay.
I'm going to try and address this technical issue.
Okay.
All right. I appreciate everybody coming in and everything. And I'm going to try and clear this mess up for future live streams. So everybody have a good night. Yeah. Let's all try to be good.
Yep. Let's all try to be friends.
Yep.
All right.
That works better. Good night.
Have a great night, guys. Thank you for joining Mert and me.